The power of storytelling is undeniable. Stories captivate, inspire, and move us to action. But storytelling isn't just for words. Data has its own story to tell. With Power BI, you can transform complex data into compelling insights and visualizations that drive better decisions and set companies apart. In this video, you will start with an introduction to Power BI, covering its history and key features. You will learn how to set up Power BI desktop, navigate its interface, and understand different licensing options. This video will guide you through data modeling and using DAX, data analysis expressions, for calculations. You will also explore how to create visualizations and clean your data with Power Query. Finally, you will apply what you have learned by creating reports and dashboards that make your data easy to understand. So, let's start learning how to use Power BI to make smarter decisions with your data. Now that we will explore what is Microsoft Power BI tutorial. Before that, let's check out the agenda, what all we will cover in this session. In this session, we will discuss Introduction to Power BI. What is Power BI, where it is used, what we will be doing with it, that will be introduced here. Next, we will talk about getting started with Power BI. Here, we will be having certain knowledge of how does the interface look like, from where we have to download and how we have to start the work with. Initial setup will be taught in getting started with Power BI. Then, we will talk about Power BI ecosystem and licensing. There are various products of Power BI which is used for different purposes and it has different cost. Few products are free, few products are licensed, for which we have to pay the money. We will learn about all those aspects in Power BI ecosystem and licensing. Then we will navigate towards Power BI desktop. Generally, 80% of our tasks in this session will be done in Power BI desktop itself. Then we will talk about data modeling in Power BI. Later, we will learn how do we enhance data models with DAX. Post that, we will be visualizing the data. At last, we will talk about Power Query for data transformation. So, this will be our theory aspects and few of the practical bits as well. But finally, we will cover all these theory aspects which we have learned in a practical visualization project, which gives you a hands-on information of how to implement the theoretical aspects we have learned into a project. So, this session will be the combination of all these topics. Why wait? Let's quickly start with the first one.
So when we talk about business intelligence, it has a fairly simple yet easy definition. So business intelligence is nothing but the process of taking in raw data and generating business insights out of it. Now this seems fairly simple, right? I mean, you think of it as a machine where you put in raw data and you get business insights out of it. But then when you talk about this machine of business intelligence, there are a lot of spare parts or a lot of things that happen inside this business intelligence machine or domain, right? So when you talk about putting in raw data, the question that you'd ask is why? I mean, why do I put in raw data and generate business insights out of it? Nowadays, when you talk about running businesses, the competition is fairly high. And it is very important, one, you understand the situation your business is in and how are your competitors doing. Also, when you talk about understanding your own business, you might want to look into data from the past, right? And eventually also make predictions that concern your future decisions, which mostly is controlled by data science, something that is trending a lot these days if you talk about the prediction part. But again, when you want to do stuff like data visualization, or let's assume you want to do stuff like data science, or basically let's assume that you want to use this data for marketing, right? You need this data in a format that is consumable. Now, when you talk about raw data and when you talk about businesses, say for example, we are talking about enterprise-wide data. Now this can be huge amount of data, right? And you're talking about data centers load of data, right? So when you talk about this amount of data, basically it's not always feasible for you to just go through the data. The reason for that is, one, this data might come in from different sources, it could be in different formats, and could be working with different tools, right? So in order to integrate this data or have this data at one place where one or a couple of solutions or applications can help you decode this data, we need to first clean it up, right? And after that, we can load and transform this data and convert it into data that is probably easily understood by the stakeholders, or it can be presented to stakeholders in such a manner that it is easily understandable to them. Data visualization plays a very big role here, but that is for the later part. I won't be talking about that right away. So when you talk about putting this data in this particular order, that is what we are referring to as business intelligence. So this is where you basically go ahead, take in your data and make it business ready so that people can understand it better. So this is what the plain definition is when you talk about business intelligence. If you go and look for the definition, I'm sure there would be plenty of definitions out there, right, which convey better meaning out of it. But to keep it very simple and raw for all of you, you basically take in data that is not manageable, understandable for you. You probably transform it into data that can give you or help you understand your business better. So that is what business intelligence is in a nutshell. Let's talk about some of the features that business intelligence offers to us. Now, when you talk about business intelligence features, the best way to describe it is, when you do business intelligence, these are some of the benefits that you get out of it. One, you get to quickly navigate through the problem. That means since your data is now clean and in proper order, is well defined, well oiled, it is easier for you to navigate through the data that you have with you. Once that bit is sorted for you, the next step is basically getting answers to the questions that you're looking for. Now, when you talk about business intelligence, the main aim is to figure out things that have worked for you and the ones that haven't, right? So that when you talk about a particular business, you can continue doing the things that have worked for you or better on those, and you can probably either discard the things that did not work for you or again change them into more winning ways of approaching that particular problem, right? So that is where you need instant answers for your business, right? So what worked for us, what did not work for us, how do we go ahead and do stuff? And this is something that you can figure out from your data if it is properly cleaned, right? The next thing is, now that you know, I can move through the data and get all this information, right? I'm getting instant answers to some of the questions that I want. That in turn helps me understand my business better. Now I'm in a better position to understand what all needs to be done with the business that I have on my plate, right? And then I can make better business decisions, right? Decision making is very crucial. And it's only when you are back those things up with facts, you can actually go ahead and take better business decisions, right? To give you an example, let's assume that you own a YouTube channel, right? Now you've released n number of videos in a particular duration. It's only after you backtrack and analyze this information as to what all worked for you, you can actually go ahead and take decisions as in what sort of videos do you want to release. Now this is a very basic example. Again, when you talk about it from an enterprise level, you could be dealing with complex problems where the data is a lot more complicated and the problem statements are a lot more complicated as well. Now this is where business intelligence comes into picture, which in turn helps you simplify the overall process of basically going ahead and putting your data in an order that is understandable by everybody, right? So this is what business intelligence is, and these are the features of business intelligence. I hope that you've understood what business intelligence is. Okay, let's now go ahead and understand the different phases of business intelligence. So this is one more bit that we'll be including in the business intelligence part. Now these are also the phases in which data visualization has evolved. But let's talk about it from a business intelligence perspective, right? So basically, when you talk about business intelligence, we are referring to the fact where we are talking about data, right? Again, guys, please note one thing. When I'm talking about business intelligence, right, we are talking about a domain that specializes in dealing with data. Now, you might wonder that if you talk about business intelligence, does it not apply to the normal commerce that we do? There are ginning and pressing meals out there who have no clue about data. But again, they too deal in data. However, they are dealing in physical data a lot more. But when you talk about IT industries, where you talk about businesses where you are storing your data in digital format, this is where business intelligence or the things that we are discussing would make a lot more sense to you. So approach it in this particular manner, and I'm sure that a lot of your concerns would be cleared here. Let us now go ahead and understand the different phases of business intelligence. So when you talk about data, if you go back like 20 years from now, in those days, we had limited technology with us. What that meant was, in order to process a particular kind of data, we always needed IT support who could actually go ahead and fetch that data for us and probably clean it up, do all these processes and help us understand that data. But once this was done, there were still dependencies, right? In order to understand this data, we needed to go to the analysts who could actually clean this data further, run mathematical models on top of it and give us insights, right? And post that, it would come to the end user who could then present it. To put forth a scenario, let's assume that there's an IT company. So when you talk about an IT company, we are talking about technical data. So a technical guy would fetch data for you, pass it on to the analyst who would generate reports out of it. Then the end user or the marketer would present it to the stakeholder. So there are a lot of dependencies here. And this was the first phase when you talk about your phases of business intelligence. But as time evolved, we had tools where fetching the data wasn't that tedious a task. Even analysts could have their data in proper forms, proper shapes that could be cleaned, and they could then generate mathematical models or visuals out of it and then give it to the marketing team or to the end users to present it to the stakeholders. Again, this was the second phase that we are talking about. But as time evolved, we moved out of this second phase as well, and we are talking about a generation now where we have tools that do not require you to go through all this manual venture and multi-team connectivity where you have to go through these different phases. Instead, we have tools where you can just put in your data, get the data from different sources, just transform it using one single tool with certain clicks, and post that. You can actually go ahead and create visualizations, generate intel out of that data, and perform your business intelligence practices. And this is the third phase that we are in right now. I don't know how much further would this phase develop, but again, technology is something that keeps evolving, isn't it? So these are the different phases of business intelligence. I hope you've understood what these phases are. Now let us try and understand what is Power BI in little more detail. Let's try and understand Power BI as in what all can it do, what it is, and how does one define it. So when you take a look at the definition, Power BI is a tool which basically lets you control quite a few things, right? Be it from connection to collaboration, Power BI is the most powerful, secure, and flexible end-to-end analytics platform for your data. When you say an end-to-end platform, right from data consumption or data sourcing to the end process where you generate reports out of it, right? Power BI takes care of quite a lot of things. So when we are talking about data visualization tools, the primary function here is to take in your raw data and generate visualizations out of it, which can convey some of the missions or messages very effectively. And that is what Power BI does for you. It gives you end-to-end solution to quite a lot of problems that you may have in your hand. Okay. And that is what Power BI is in a nutshell. Let's try and understand Power BI a little more with the features that it offers. To start with, Power BI offers apt visualizations. So the number of options when it comes to visualizing your data are plenty, they are numerous, and you can actually go ahead and customize your visualizations and do a lot of things with it. As we get into the demo part, we'll be discussing these bits in a lot more detail, and all of a sudden these concepts like depth, automatic functions, connecting to data, apt visualizations will start making a lot more sense to you. But for now, let's try and understand what the definition or what do these pointers stand for. So when you say apt visualizations, the aim here is to generate visualizations that convey detailed or a lot more information for you with ease. You can get into the depth of concepts. So this is where your drill down features come into picture. How do you get into depth of information? Let's assume that there's a business problem for which you're reporting certain data and presenting it in the form of visuals. And that certain data is nothing but the sales on yearly basis. So what we realized was, let's assume that I quoted data for 4 years where I showed the profits or sales, whatever it is, right? Let's assume sales for last 3 to 4 years. Now, what we realized was this year there was a sudden spike or there was a high increase in the sales that we did. So if I have to figure out, let's assume something like I want to understand in which part of the year did I get more sales. So I can actually go ahead and drill down and take a look at quarterly data for this year. I can compare it with quarterly data for previous years, and what that would tell me is, as in which quarter did we have more performance? Was it consistent? Was it a particular quarter that we got more information? So when you say drill deeper or get into the depths of information, that is what you do here. Then you have something called as automatic functions. Now, what are automatic functions? Automatic functions are nothing but the ease with which you can actually go ahead and create visualizations where Power BI supports you by giving you ample and good suggestions for your data. If you are not certain as in for what visualization should I opt for when I choose this particular data, do not worry about it. All you have to do is put that data, and if that can be visualized, Power BI by default will suggest certain visualizations for you. Again, something that we'll be seeing as we perform demo and we get into the practical part of things for this course. The next point is connection to data. There are very less data sources out there in the market to which a tool like Power BI cannot connect to. So when you talk about Power BI, I don't think I've seen any tool yet or known any tool yet that you cannot import your data from into Power BI. Again, the different connection sources is something that we'll discuss as we move further. So this is what Power BI is in a nutshell, be it from connection to collaboration. It is an end-to-end analytics tool for your data. Okay. And apart from that, it provides features like it gives you apt visualizations, in-depth drilling and understanding of your data. It lets you basically go ahead and use automatic functions, something that you can use to connect or basically you can use to create more better visualizations, and you can also connect to different data sources, making it easily available for different requirements. So when you talk about the Power BI architecture, we are not going to get into the complications of how the architecture works in detail, but there are 3 important pointers that you need to understand, and you can see those pointers at the right bottom corner of this slide, where we've talked about data integration, processing, and presentation of information. What that means is, when you talk about any data, the first step is to get your data from different sources. The next step is, once you have that data, you integrate it, you transform it into more edible data. And once the data is edible, you just present it in a better manner. So people who work in ETL can relate to this, right? Extract, transform, and load. That is what we do. So basically, when you talk about Power BI, it works no differently, right? One, as I've mentioned, there are very few data sources to which Power BI cannot connect to. So you'd be taking in data from different data sources, right? And then you would move it to Power BI services, which is their online platform. Now, once it is there in Power BI services, you can then through the gateway move it to the servers. It can be your private server or Power BI server. And if and when required, you can use tools like Power BI Desktop, okay, which can be used to basically go ahead and create visualizations using Power BI, or basically using this tool, you can create visualizations. So what are the sub tools that you can use? This is something we'll see as we move further. But this is how the architecture of Power BI works. I hope that is clear to you people.
Getting started with Power BI. Here, we will have an overview on updates up to July 2024 in Power BI, what all the improvements it has come up with. What am I referring here is, it is an official Microsoft blog link where the Power BI July 2024 feature updates has been provided. So, let's quickly access this link and check. Here we are on the official Microsoft Power BI blog. Let's check out what are the different improvements or updates the Power BI has got. First, it starts with reporting, wherein you can have customized Azure Maps visual. Here, the new feature is, it is giving you CSV file support and also customizable reference layers and dynamic URL sources. The benefits of this particular reporting is, we are having enhanced flexibility and dynamic visualization reports can be provided with this feature which has been added. Next comes modeling. In this, what are the different elements that has been enhanced? First, we have enhanced row level security. What is the overview of this? It gives us the simplified access to edit the security feature. That means the roles which you want to provide to different people in your program or the project, you can do that with ease. Then comes DAX query, where the DAX query view is been available for a live connect. Here, you can write and view DAX queries while live connected to semantic model. Here, the live connection to semantic model is been provided and you can view and edit the DAX queries accordingly. The next feature is add or update multiple measures in DAX query view. Here, you have access to add and update DAX query in a single click. Then comes data connectivity. Here, it is given as a certified connector updates. What are these? It can have Windsor, single store, Smartsheet and building connected. These are the different types of connectors which is being added in data connectivity. Next, we have service. Here, storytelling in PowerPoint, new export to PowerPoint dialog. This is the feature that has been added across. In this new export to Power BI dialog, what you can find is merged. Then comes developers. In developers, you have field parameter feature and also Power BI enhanced report format, that is PBIR update. So, in field parameter feature update, you would have got source field parameter in data view metadata column. In PBIR format, it has resolved the issue of export to PPT or PDF, inclusion of subscriptions, mobile layouts and Power BI embedded. Then it comes with visualization. Here you have new visuals in app source, linear gauge by Power Wix. Then you have drill down map pro by Zoom Chats, Power Gantt chart by Nova. Then you have advanced geospatial analytics made, which is simple with icon map, which is being provided for Power BI. The Map Pro is for Power BI. What these visualizations will do? It will help you to have a better visualization of your data where you can showcase enhanced versions of it. Then comes paginated report. Here you can bind the gateway with API support for paginated reports. Later, you also have parameters which you have headers and footer and also much more. Here you can give a web authorizing experience. So, you can also have a preview of the paginated report. That's the update which you have got. Then you have Power BI server. In Power BI server, you can have a server key in Fabric capacities. So, capacities is being worked on when it comes to deal with our reports or our data. We have went across the complete content where the updates are being given by Microsoft Power BI official blog account, and it is across up to July 2024. Hope you have got certain idea of what all it has been improved and how enhanced the product is now. After understanding all of these, now we will have to know how do we set up our Power BI account. What are the different steps we will follow? We will follow how do we sign up, how do we verify mail, how do we download Power BI desktop, how to create and access the workspace, configure the settings if any, and start using Power BI. So let's have a quick demo and understand how do we download and from where do we download, how much time does it take in order to install this particular software. We have to go to search engine, be it Google, be it Mozilla, anything. I'm here on the Google Chrome. You have to type what do you want. We want Power BI desktop download. So we will click on enter. Once we do that, we will get numerous links here. You have to click on the first link available. Once you do, you will get an option to download. So we are actually downloading Microsoft Power BI desktop. I'm clicking on download and you can see two different files, executable files or setup files. You can select the setup files accordingly. Our system is of 64x. So I'm clicking on this particular second option, Power BI desktop setup x64. I'll click on download. Once you click on download, the downloads will start here towards your right top corner. Once the download is complete, you could access the executable file available on your local system. Always it is available on the download folder. You can just go quickly, double click on that. Here I have put the same file on the desktop. I am doing double click on the file and this is the window. The setup window starts and you can press next. Once you do that, it will give you a normal installation process of any software you generally install in your local system. This is how the practice is. You have to click on next and it will try to prepare the installation on your Windows system. You click on next, accept the terms and condition, click on next. You can change the location where you want to install your Power BI. For now, I am keeping it in the same default location provided by the system. I am clicking on the next. Then we can click on install. It will start installing the Power BI desktop on your local system. Once the installation is complete, you can open the particular Power BI desktop which has been installed and then let's see what is the next process. After the installation is complete, you will get a launch window. You can click on finish. Now the Power BI desktop application will be opened on your local system. This complete process might take certain amount of time. You have to wait until the complete process is done. This is how Power BI desktop interface look like. This is the home page. You can work on this particular application without any sign in as well. If you want to sign in, you can click here and you can give your email ID and then press continue. You should have a Microsoft account prior in order to access this sign in process, or else you can just create one and then sign in. This is the overall picture of how does the home page of Power BI desktop look like after installation. Now let's quickly get back. What are the different Power BI applications available and its other details. Now let's see the differences between the applications of Power BI. There are two different things. One is desktop, another one is service. So across the features, that is purpose, installation, data connectivity, report creation and many other features, we will see what is the difference between these two applications. First, Power BI desktop. It's a desktop application for creating and designing reports. As simple as that, which we just saw. How did we install that and how does the home page look like, right? We just touched upon it and we are back here. Then we will explore Power BI service. What is this all about? It is an online service for sharing, collaborating and viewing the reports. This is a local system or the desktop application. It is online service available. You can create and design reports. Here you can share, collaborate and view the reports. This is the basic major difference between desktop and the service. Then comes installation. It requires installation on a local computer, which we did right before explaining this section. It is web-based in service. You can have a web browser, an internet connection. You can access the Power BI service. That's it. Next comes data connectivity. Here, it connects the local and online data sources both. Here in Power BI service, you can connect to online data resources and data sets. When it comes to report creation, full featured report and dashboard creation is available in Power BI desktop. When it comes to Power BI service, you have limited report creation option. Primarily for viewing and sharing is the sole purpose of Power BI service. Across data modeling, what does desktop does? Comprehensive data modeling and transformation tools are available. When it comes to service, basic data modeling capabilities, and it always relies on published data. Data which is already published from the desktop can be accessible in the Power BI service. Why you have to sign in? What is the importance of signing in? Just because this coordination will be very easy. You just saw on a desktop interface, that is Power BI desktop, you had an option of signing in. So if you do that sign in, Power BI service is also to be accessible very easily. And let's see how it can be done. User collaboration. When it comes to user collaboration, single user environment is Power BI desktop. Multiple user collaboration, sharing and workspace management can be done in Power BI service. And when it says collaboration, sharing and workspace management, obviously you have to think this is not free. Power BI service is actually not free. Power BI desktop is accessible to everyone. Let's see that constraint later. Then comes publishing reports. To publish, you have to have Power BI service for sharing. That is the interdependency we have between desktop and the service. Next comes Power BI service. In Power BI service, publishing reports is direct. You can publish the reports and dashboards for anybody's access, be it the stakeholder or the client or the user, etc. Then comes access control. In Power BI desktop, it is not at all applicable because it is a local application. Then comes to service, advanced access control and security features is available. When they give certain security features and when they give you the access to that advanced security features, obviously I think we have to pay license money. Next comes scheduled data refresh. Here, manual data refresh will happen in Power BI desktop. Then in Power BI service, automated data refresh and scheduling will be happening. Mobile access. In Power BI desktop, you don't have mobile access option at all. When it comes to service, mobile app access for viewing the reports and dashboards is completely available. Integration. How do you integrate? You can integrate with Microsoft tools. Example, Excel. Any of the product of Microsoft compatible with Power BI, you can access. You can integrate with that. Then comes Power BI service. It integrates with Microsoft 365 and other Power BI services as well. So it is compatible compared to Power BI desktop. Now comes the cost perspective. We were already anticipating when they give certain features, they'll take money, right? So here, Power BI desktop is free. Power BI service is a subscription based. Power BI Pro or Premium can be taken in order to work with this. What is this Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium? We will also explore that in upcoming sections of the same video. Just keep. Now let's see the interface. How does this Power BI service look like? We already saw the Power BI desktop installation. How does the homepage look like? Let's try to access Power BI service. What is the output? Let's see. Type Power BI service and press on enter. Once you do that, you could see this page where it asks for sign in. As I told you, this is a web-based application. So you have to click on Power BI sign in. Once you do that, it will ask you to enter your email ID to check whether it is existing or if it is a requirement of creation of new account. So I am clicking on enter the mail ID. I am typing my ID and clicking on submit. Once I do that, it will ask the password to be entered. I am entering the password. After you finish password entry, it will get into this particular screen where it is asking for a Microsoft Authenticator app. If you want to set up that Authenticator, you can click on next. If not, press on ask later. Once you do that, it will ask stay signed in. You click on yes. It will try to move us to the Microsoft Power BI service window. This is how Power BI service interface look like. So it is almost same as the Power BI desktop, but the features are little bit different. And we have to pay for Power BI service. It is not free. You can access Power BI service only with the official accounts, meaning you are in a school, university, college, or you are an employee working in a company. With the permission of the company, you can just give your ID which is having a specified domain address and you can just access this. Official email IDs to be used, be it a student or be it a professional. This is a important thing to be remembered. This is about the Power BI service. You can create, browse, you can have apps integration and many other workspaces can be integrated across. This is how it looks like, right? Hope we have understood about the difference between the Power BI desktop and Power BI service. Now that we have understood the difference between Microsoft Power BI desktop, also the Power BI service, we had an interaction. How does this particular interface of desktop look like? Also, Power BI service looks like. There are certain steps we have to follow which is already shown across. You can use the same in order to explore these interfaces.
Let us now go ahead and understand the different components of Power BI. So when you talk about the different components of Power BI, we have quite a few components that Power BI offers to us. So to name a few, you have your Power Query, you have your Power View, you have your Power BI Q&A, Power Pivot. Then you have other features as well, right? Be it your mobile features, be it your desktop features, right? There are plenty of these out there in the market. Let's try and understand them one by one. Okay. So first and foremost, let's talk about Power Query. Now, Power Query is one of the important components of Power BI that can be included in your Excel, or it can also be used as a component of Power BI desktop. Now, using Power Query, what you can do is you can basically delete your data from numerous data sources or even extract your data from a wide range of different databases, be it your Oracle, SQL Server, be it MySQL, be it other databases as well or different sources as well. What you can also do here is you can fetch data from records. Now these records can be like your text files, CSVs, and even Excel files, right? So when you talk about Power BI, it gives you a feature of working with data, be it dealing with different data sources, be it deleting or fetching data. All these things can be done by using your Power BI query or Power Query. What Power BI also does is it gives you a strong GUI, that is graphical user interface, so that you can actually go ahead and transform a lot of your data and use this data as you need. Now, when you talk about transforming, you might require data such as date and time, changes, adding columns, changing the types of your data and content, right? And many other different options that are there on your plate. Now, when you talk about Power Query, again, it is useful as it uses formula like your M formula language. Power Query M formula language is what we call, and it is more vigorous than a normal GUI. So that is what your Power Query lets you do. It lets you deal with GUI requirements as well and all the data processing that we discussed at the initial point of start. Now, let's try and understand the other components. I'm going to go through these components in random orders. So let's now discuss the Power Pivot, what it is and how does it function. So when you talk about Power Pivot again is a data modeling and calculation engine. It is used for modeling simple and complex data. In Power Pivot, you can set or create relationships between different tables and calculate values that can be viewed in Power Tables or pivot tables rather. Now, when you talk about it, what it does is it also gives you a lot of space where you can actually go ahead and create your designs. And another important thing is when you talk about Power Pivot, it uses DAX, that is data analysis expressions, something that we'll see to some extent as we move further. So it is a very strong concept when you talk about DAX, and it serves quite a lot of purposes in general. So we'll discuss that as we move further. The next point that we would be talking about now is your Power View. When you talk about Power View, again, it is a data visualization component, a basic one, a fundamental one though. And what it does is it is a component that lets you interact with the data and connect to different data sources that you have, just like you do in Power Query. But the other thing that it gives you here is you can retrieve the metadata that you have, okay? And it can be used for data analysis. Now, there are many blueprints for visualization in Power View lists, if you talk about it in general form. And with Power View, what you can also do is you can filter your data for every visualization component or for an entire report if you want to. You can add slicers to it, right? You can slice and dice your data. And when you talk about reports in Power View, these are interactive in nature and can highlight some important parts of the data or different components in Power View to interact with each other. Now, next you have on your plate is Power Map. Okay. So when you talk about Power Map is used to visualize geospatial data, which can be in 3D mode, right? So Power Map basically lets you deal with geographic data. Now, when you're talking about this data type, we are talking about data that is specific to a particular location, and you need separate kind of visualization for it. And when you talk about Power Map, it lets you get all this data in place and also let you render this data in 3D mode. So what that means is with Power Map, you can go ahead and attribute or assume one of the attributes and then actually go ahead and create different views, be it heat maps and stuff like that. Okay. So when it comes to dealing with geographic data, you can always opt for something like a Power Map. Now, we've been going around and around talking about different visualizations and the ease with which you can actually go ahead and get your data. The important point here is we need to question the data that we have, right? Can we do that? When you have Power BI Q&A, you can definitely do that. It is nothing but a language motor. You can think of it as a language motor that basically lets you go through your data model and question it to get certain important answers. Okay. And when you talk about it, it helps you find solutions to quite important questions that are there, figure out certain hints related to the data, and then using which you can either create more visualizations or just understand the existing visualizations better. Apart from that, you have some tools that Power BI offers. Now, we've talked about the important components and all the 5 ones are covered, but then there are certain other parts to it, right? You have a Power BI desktop, a desktop related service or a software that you can install on your system. And once you do that, you can go ahead and create visualizations out of it. Then you have something called as Power BI website, to which you can go ahead and publish your reports and dashboards. And then you have Power BI mobile apps. Now, when you talk about mobile apps, these are important. One, you cannot make changes to your data, to your visualizations when on mobile. But let's assume that you're stuck somewhere and you need to take a look at the report that has been sent or a dashboard that has been shared. What do? If somebody shares it with you on your phone and you have Power BI, which has access to take a look at that particular dashboard or visual, you can do that using your Power BI mobile. So again, guys, there are other sub-parts, sub-components, but these are the core ones. I believe by now, the different components of Power BI are clear to you people.
In Power BI ecosystem and licensing, we have a detailed discussion to be done. On what? On 3 different aspects. First, Power BI for free. Then you have Power BI Pro. You have Power BI Premium. Across what features or across what categories? Across the listed categories below here. We have multiple categories. We'll have a quick walkthrough on what does free, Pro and Premium of Power BI does. First thing, we will be talking about the cost. What is the cost for Power BI free? It is mentioned here itself. It is a free application. When it comes to Power BI Pro, you have a subscription to be done. Then when it comes to Premium, here also you have to have a subscription. What is the difference between Pro and Premium? Both have subscription, but the features and capacities is more compared to Pro in Premium, right? So it will be always used at the higher tier. You will be having this particular Premium accessible for multiple users. It can be told as B2B, business to business, organization to organization. This is how it will help. Now that we know about the cost, let's talk about the user access. In Power BI for free, you have individual use. It is not for multiple people. You have to access this particular Power BI free as an individual. In your personal local system, you can access the same. When it comes to Power BI Pro, what it will do? Here, it is individual use as well, but it can be used for organization also. For what? For sharing the reports. You can just note down individual plus organization. It comes to Power BI Pro. When it comes to Power BI Premium, it is organization wide, large scale, and collaborations can also be done. So that's the major thing. It is not for individual. I say it is only on the large aspect. Power BI Premium. The user access is numerous and global also. Next comes data capacity. What is the capacity of Power BI free? Obviously, it will be very much limited, right? It is not having much accessibility or data capacity here. When it comes to Power BI Pro, again, I would like to say it is also limited. Power BI free is limited at the individual level. Power BI Pro is limited at the organization level. To that scale, to that capacity I am talking. When it comes to Power BI Premium, I can say it is large capacity and it is having a dedicated resources. Next, we will talk about report sharing. Report sharing in Power BI for free, it is not available at all. When it comes to Power BI Pro, you can share and collaborate to other Pro users. It is not having access to premium sharing. Okay. If people are having Pro plus Pro, you can do the sharing of your reports across. When it comes to the premium, you can share and collaborate across the organization. It is not having the restrictions. You pay higher, you have better features. This is how it works. Next comes collaboration. Here in Power BI for free, you have limited collaboration. Again, it is a personal report aspect only. When it comes to Pro, you are having full collaboration features, but within the organization only. When it comes to Premium, you are having extensive collaboration features which is available with advanced data management system as well. So this is how it is, pay as you go. The more you pay, the more features you get. Then comes data refresh. Data refresh is manual. You can say it's manual in Power BI for free, and you have a scheduled data refresh in Pro, and you have automatic data refresh in Premium. That's the difference you have. Next, you have data storage aspect. Here, it is having again the limited data storage aspect. Then, in Pro, you have more storage aspect compared to the free. When it comes to Premium, you have extensive storage available which is dedicated to the large capacity and to store the large data sets. When it comes to data sources, in Power BI for free, you can access the basic data resources. That's it. When it comes to Pro, you have a wide range of data sources available. Then, when it comes to this Premium, you have advanced data sources and for the large data sets. That's there. When it comes to usage metrics, you have limited usage metrics in Power BI for free. You have detailed usage metrics in Power BI Pro. You have advanced usage metrics and reporting in Power BI Premium. That's the difference you have. Then, let's speak about Power BI service features. How does the Power BI service give helping hand to free, Pro and Premium? You have basic features of Power BI service in Power BI for free. When it comes to Power BI Pro, you can have full features including advanced data sharing and collaboration also. When Power BI service comes to Power BI Premium collaboration, all features including the premium capabilities and dedicated support is also being available in Power BI Premium. That's how the Power BI service supports all these 3 applications. Okay. Now, let's talk about the advanced features. What are the advanced features available? In free, you don't have any advanced features. When it comes to Pro, you have a little bit of advanced features. And when it comes to Premium, you have advanced features like paginated reports, AI capabilities, etc. What about the capacity? We have to see the capacity. First, in free, you have shared capacity. Here, in this particular Pro also, you have only shared capacity. But where is the difference when it comes to Premium? When it comes to Premium, the capacity is dedicated. You can have a dedicated capacity there. There is no sharing basis because we are paying high amount. Next, let's talk about on-premises reporting. On-premises reporting is not at all available in Power BI for free. When it comes to Power BI Pro, again, surprisingly, it is not available for Pro as well. But this on-premises reporting is a feature that's available in Premium. That's the difference you have. It is available for the Power BI report server. Let's talk about the support. What is the support for free application? Only the community. People who has knowledge about it, who are core workers for Power BI, they can have their answers, questions, their forums on a community basis. That is for free. When it comes to Pro, community is also there and support from Microsoft is also being available. When it comes to Premium, you have enhanced support including a dedicated support team available for sorting the issues that has been there in the Power BI Premium. Now, let's talk about Power BI report server. In Power BI for free, we don't have this option at all. Also in Power BI Pro, we cannot find the Power BI report service. When it comes to Premium, you have that included on premises. It is having the Power BI report server which is being available in Power BI Premium. Now, at last, dedicated cloud resources. Dedicated cloud resources is obviously not dedicated for Power BI for free. When it comes to Pro, again, it is not there. But in Premium, you have a dedicated cloud resource with enhanced performance. That's available. Hope we understood the complete ecosystem of Power BI for free, Power BI for Pro and Power BI Premium, right? Hope you have a good knowledge about across many features. Multiple features is being explained how it is feasible. You can decide accordingly and you can choose. If you are a student, if you are a learner, obviously you can go for Power BI for free. If you have a startup, if you have a little community or organization that's working across, you can go for Power BI Pro. If you have a large scale requirement, you can go for Power BI Premium. That's about the Power BI ecosystem and licensing. After understanding Power BI Free, Pro and Premium, we have to also understand what is this Power BI service, app and workspaces. What is the difference? The complete ecosystem of the Power BI is being introduced here. So let's hop into the first one, that is Power BI service. First definition. Let's understand what is this Power BI service. Online platform for managing, sharing and collaborating on reports and dashboards. Only thing you have to focus on is online platform, which was not in the desktop. We already saw a little difference between the desktop and the service, right? So here it says online platform for managing, sharing and collaborating. This is the major aspect. Across the reports and the dashboards, you can do the same. What is the purpose of this? Where it is used? It is used in central hub for publishing, again sharing and accessing the reports and dashboards. What are the different features we have? We have publishing reports, we have collaboration, we have data refresh, we have dashboards and also the data integration can happen. Access, who can access this? When it says online, obviously web-based, it can be accessed through the browser and also through the mobile application. You have an option in order to do the accessibility on both the interfaces, desktop or your browser or your mobile app. Who uses this user roles generally? Admin, member and viewer. These are the three user roles that is available for Power BI service. What is the security aspect? You have role-based security control and data feature and compliance. Here, according to the role, that is admin, member and viewer, you can give the access. The security can be managed across. Next one is Power BI apps. Again, let's start with the definition. It says collection of related reports and dashboards packed together. Reports and dashboards, when you pack together, it become an app. So what is the purpose? Simplify to access and curate set of reports and dashboards which is accessed in a quick manner. What are the features? We have app workspaces, you have distribution, you have customizable layouts. Access via Power BI service or mobile app. That's the only access you have for Power BI apps, either from the service or by the mobile app. Service in the sense on the web based or by the mobile app. User roles, app creator, end users. Simple as that. You don't have anybody else involved here. Security is again access control based and workspace settings can be done for Power BI apps. Let's talk about Power BI Workspace. Here, as the definition states, collaborative environments for organizing and managing content. This is having a collaboration workspace involved many people in this particular thing. Purpose: facilitate a team in order to collaborate and manage the content. What are the features? Content management, collaboration and role-based access. As simple as that. What kind of access? It can be managed through Power BI interface alone. Power BI Workspace can be managed with the help of Power BI interface, which is at the service level. What are the different user roles you could find? You could find an admin, you could find a member, you could find a contributor, and also you can find a viewer. What is the security aspect? You can control this particular workspace. Only admins can do this access control. So we have an important person called admin here who knows which member does what and what is the access provided to that member. Admin plays a very important role in order to control the workspaces, be it Power BI, be it any other software, generally the data management softwares, etc. Admin plays a very key role. In order to manage this access control to multiple people, a person should have an in-depth knowledge in order to control this interface completely. Now that we know against the categories, that is definition, purpose, features, access, user roles and security, for all the three things, that is service, apps and workspaces of Power BI. Let's hop on to understand the licensing aspect. What is the cost involved, how it works? Let's check out. The subscription for these three elements, that is Power BI service, apps and workspaces, is different. Let's explore one by one. Power BI service. Subscription is required? Yes, it is required. How? Power BI free is available, Pro is available, Premium is available. We already know what is the complete detail of that. When it comes to Power BI apps, do you need a subscription? No, obviously we don't need one. We will access the app which is shared with us without a subscription. We can create, publish and share apps generally which requires Power BI or Premium, but we can do that in Power BI apps. Power BI Workspace, obviously it needs subscription. Free again has a limited collaboration, Pro has a full collaboration, Premium has a enhanced features available to manage the workspace and share without any individual Pro licenses. So this is about the subscription details of Power BI service, apps and workspace.
Okay guys, so if you're new to Power BI, this is how the interface of Power BI looks like. Now Power BI is a competitor to Tableau and both of them are fairly good tools in the market and both of them function very similar to each other. So I'll show you how Tableau also works, but meanwhile let's just quickly go ahead and understand how does Power BI work and what is its interface, what all can you do with it. So guys, this is our normal surface, a board where we do all our visualizations. If you feel that the space that you need is less, you minimize this part. You see the space increases. just like that. This space also increases. So you can choose these, you can expand these, and you can use all of this space that is there with you. In Tableau, you have multiple options here as well. You can decide how you can go ahead and optimize your screen size and stuff. In Power BI, you don't need that because there are very good pick and drop facilities that Power BI offers to us. Okay, so this is where we are gonna go ahead and create our visualizations. Apart from that, guys, when you import your data, there are quite a few other things that we can do here. Okay, what? That is something I'll show you. Do not worry. Okay, so first and foremost, let's just go ahead and import the data. Something that you've asked, right? As in Vishal, what is the data set that we are using? So guys, it's a standard data set. I'm using a Kaggle data set. I'm sure you all can look for it and you'll get access to this particular data set. Where have I put it? I put it in the Power BI folder that I have with me in the archives. And you see there are two different data sets. Do not worry. I'll tell you what do these data sets do and how you can work around it. So let us just go ahead and import both of them. So first I've imported the matches one. Okay, I think the matches one is a smaller data set because the number of matches that we have is less. What is this data set? I will tell you about that. Do not worry. Let me just load, guys. I've mentioned that you can do some pre-processing activities as well. So you can do it here right away or you can do it later as well. For now, I'm gonna just go ahead and load my data set. And it will take half a minute to go ahead and load this data set into Power BI, and then we should be good to go ahead and visualize our data. So guys, let us go ahead and take in the data set. One of them is in already. You see the data set is here. So if I come here, you'd get to know about this data, what it is, right? So the date is also here. See the ID, season, right? What city, what location the match had happened, right? So all the details are here for it as well. So apart from the cities, what all information do we have here? Date. So date, as you can see, it's in mixed up order. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say it does not matter, guys, but I'm just gonna sort it in ascending order. So you see the dates will start from 2008. So this is when the IPL started, right? 18 April 2008. And Kolkata Knight Riders did take on Royal Challengers Bangalore, where we saw Brendan McCullum hit that famous century of his, right? So now the data is in proper order. These are the team names who had won the toss. What did they decide, right? What was the result? When you say normal, was it a super over match or was it a normal match, right? So in 2008, I don't think we had the concept of super over, but still. How many runs did they win by? 140 runs. Brendan McCullum was the player of the match then, right? And what is the venue? What is the stadium that the match did take place on? Who was the umpire? What was the second umpire? So it's a fairly detailed data. However, there were certain other fields I was expecting these data sets to have, but nonetheless, whatever we have is good enough. So we'll have sufficient time to visualize this data. And let's just go ahead and say import another set of data as well. This time I'm gonna import, we had the matches one, so let's import the deliveries. So here we have ball by ball data as to what happened on every particular delivery that was bowled for a specific time duration. Now this is a bigger data set, and you would see that the importing will also take longer. So it's somewhere around 14 to 18 MBs of data, right? So that could take longer, but luckily it has happened fairly quickly. So we have the deliveries one as well in place. There you go. And again, if I come here and take a look at this data, you see what is the ID. So let's just go ahead and, okay, it is sorted already. That should not be a problem. So you see there's an ID for every match, every ball that has been bowled, and you see there's a data. So so all the information that is here is, some of it is repeated. So let's just go ahead. Okay, so we are in the wrong table. I need to be in the deliveries table. Yeah, this is the one. That is why I was wondering why is this data so similar. So you see all the information is here. Gujarat Lions, you see it here is because this data again is not arranged as per the date. So that is why we see this mismatch a little here, but all the information is here. What is the over, what is the ball number, right? Who was batting and stuff, who was the bowler, right? And what all did they do here. So all the information is here, all the data sets are here, and we are here too. So let's just go ahead and start with the process of visualization.
Now, let's understand how do we prepare the data and how do we load our data. First comes connecting to different data sources. Power BI allows us to connect to the wider range of data sources. It can be SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, also online services like SharePoint, Google Analytics, Azure, and Salesforce. If you are working with the help of local files, then it can be Excel, CSV, and JSON. What are the other elements? It is web pages, APIs, or OData. These are the key data resources which you can use in order to load your data into a Power BI desktop or service. What are the application? Whatever the application you are chosen to work with. Power BI always allows in order to integrate the data sources and analyze the data accordingly. Now let's hop on to Power BI desktop and check how do we load the data in the same. I am focusing on using a Excel data set. Let's import and check how does that looks. Here we are on the Power BI desktop interface. You could see you have various sections available here. You have three different elements towards your right side. One is data, visualization, and also filters. That's available always. You can just collapse the buttons. Here you could see a report view, table view, model view, and also DAX query view. That's a new thing that's happened along these years. What's our goal? To get the data. How do we get the data? We have to click on the get data option here. You could find the common data resources. First comes Excel workbook itself, because many of people are using Excel here in order to work with their data. You can see you also have other data sources as well, as mentioned before. You have text, CSV, web, OData feed, you have blank query, etc. I am choosing Excel workbook. Once I click on Excel workbook, here my Excel workbook, which is available in the here, the data set which I have used is available in the official account of Microsoft, right? I am not using any random data, so it is publicly accessible. You can also choose the same. I am just selecting the Superstore US data. I am clicking on open. Once I do that, you could get a connecting window. Here it says connecting. It takes certain time and the navigator will open. Once the navigator is open, you can choose what data you need to import. You have three different data available here. I am choosing all the three data available in the folder of Superstore US. I am loading the data. As simple as that. You just load the data, selecting what all you want into your Power BI desktop. There are pending changes in your queues haven't applied, so it doesn't matter. You can just discard these changes or you can apply. It depends upon yours. Okay. Once the data is loaded, it is not visible. It's not there in this data pane. Where you have to find it? You have to find that here in the data, that is orders is available here. You have so many columns there. You have again returns and users. It works just like that, but it's not visible right here. Where do you find that? It's a table. You have to go to table view. Once you do that, you get to see this particular table completely loaded across. You can go for orders. You can just go for returns. It will change. Again, users. These are the users which is mentioned here. So I'm going back to orders. What is this model view? How does this look like? See, model view will look like this: orders, returns, and users. If you don't want to write the query element or do certain coding, you can just connect the models here. It is just a model view controller aspect that has been mentioned. So I'm going back to the table view, and this is how your data once loaded looks like. Now that we have understood how do we load the data with the help of Excel aspect, let's go back and check what next. Next comes data transformation using Power Query, which is also important. You have to transform your data. You have to clean your data, remove the unwanted rows, rename certain columns, change the data types and merge certain queries as required, right? You can combine data from different sources as well. So these are the key transformations which you can do, and we use Power Query for this. What is Power Query? Generally, Power Query is a tool of Power BI which helps in preparing the data for any other analysis or any other aggregations you want to do, any other work on the data you want to do. You want to clean data. So in order to do that, we use Power Query. Now, to the same loaded data, let's do certain transformations. Now we are continuing from the same place where we left. We have loaded the data. Transformation is necessary. For that, you have to go to Home, click on Transform Data. Once we do that, Power Query window is available here. This is Power Query window actually. So you have the steps. You could see we did certain navigation, promoted headers, we changed the type. So this is how the steps, each and every steps we do will be applicable, and it is visible also. So now let's start certain changes which we can help this particular data to be cleaned. Okay. Now let's just start making certain changes in order to do certain transformation. How does it look like? Just to see. Now that we are in the order, once you go there, you could see multiple fields available. What are the different categories, product name, that, this, you have all the regions, you have city, postal code, order data, etc. We will stop at order date. Here, this is where the filter comes. You can have date filter, customizable. If you want date to be after, between, in, next, previous, earliest, so you have multiple dates. If you want to go for year wise, this year, next year, last year. So I think this is having only 1 year. If you could see here, you have only 2015 hopefully available. So I cannot put this particular year filter here. So it is something, list may be incomplete, load more. Click on load more. It will load all the elements available, all the entries there in this particular data. I am going back to date filters. Here I think we will go month wise. We have different months, right? So you can just say April. It will show the data which is applicable only in the month of April. If you want certain months which is customizable, you can select between this month and this month, month A to month C. That's how you can give. So I am just going back, just finding the quarter. How does this particular quarter division will happen? I'll go for quarter. So it says table is empty. Why? Because we had only selected the April month. So what do? We just click on select all. It's still April. So I am just removing this particular month accessibility. I'm coming back to year. I say years. Again, it is having no years except 2015. Hence, it is not able to give it. Now, how do I go back? Let me cancel this particular filtration that has happened. So again, it says April, right? This is where we were. It is only giving the April data. Now I'll remove this step applied. Now we have the complete data. That's how you go back. If you mess up somewhere, if you cannot go back, that is how the steps can be cancelled. I just gave it in order to give you an idea how to undo the things which has been done. So every single step is always documented. It's easy. Now I'll go to quarter. I'll go to date filters. I'll go to quarter. You can just go for the first quarter. When it says first quarter, it is Jan to March in this particular data set. So you can filter it across. If you want to remove the filter, you can clear the filter directly. I just showed you to remove the steps in order to go back. If you're stuck somewhere, when you clear the filter, it generally clears it off. So this is how you give certain filtration in this data which has already been loaded into your Power BI desktop on your local system. Filtration is complete. Now, let's see what next. Next is renaming the columns. I think column renaming is very simple and everybody can understand this. So what I do here is I'll go to the column called customer ID. I just right click on that, you will get so many options. You can just rename with the help of cust_id. This is how it works. Customer ID is been short formed to be cust_id. I am clicking on enter. Once I do that, customer ID is being changed to cust ID. So this is how the renaming works. Now next, let's see how do we change the data type. It is very simple. You are having lots of shortcuts. You could see one of the shortcut right here. So it is 1, 2, 3. ABC means customer ID is always number. ABC means customer name. Again, ship mode. Again, it comes to data type, which is alphabets. So you can see across the sheet, wherever the numbers are used, it is 1, 2, 3. Wherever the letters are used, it is A, B, C. Postal codes, again, you could see 1, 2, 3. So this is how the data types will be mentioned. I think we need not do any changes here. It is very normal. The alphabets is having ABC and the numbers has 1, 2, 3. But still, how do we change? I'll just show. For that purpose, we click on the data type, that is ABC. The option, you can change that to the below listed data types available. So you have lots of data types available. One thing we can do, we can go to sales or we can go to the any number or margins. Okay. See, if you could see, it is decimal. Decimal means 1.2. Right? You can make it whole number 1, 2, 3. So this is as simple as that. So you can change this particular data types very quickly in a simple manner. I'm getting this back to decimal number itself. I'm not disturbing. So I'll have replace the current. If you just do the same thing back again, it will ask you, should I replace or should I add it as a new step? New step means it will come listed here. So I'll make it as a replace current. So I'm just replacing the same here. So this is how you change the data types accordingly. If you find any mistake, manually you have to do all these things. Next, let's see how do we merge queries. For that, we have to navigate towards merge query. Where is merge query? Let's search. Yes, it's right here. It says merge query and merge queries as new. So I'm selecting as merge queries here. Once I do that, you get a window. What is this window all about? Which table you have to merge with what and what kind of merging you have to do. First, I'm just choosing orders, which is already chosen by default. Then with the returns, I'm merging on order ID. So this is how it will look like. If you just select these tables, that's all enough. Here you have an option of merging a table with a column or two columns which is matching. You can select the same and you can merge. I have chosen order ID in the returns. Obviously, the same order ID will be there in the order table. So here it is. Once you select both of them, you can have a option what kind of join you can make. You have left outer, right outer, full outer, inner, left anti and right anti. Here I am choosing left outer. Once I select that, I am pressing on OK. Once we do that, we get back to the Power Query window. So we have merged the queries, that is also been listed here. So we have done little bit of transformations for our data that's been required. Now, what do? We have to save this. We have to save the Power Query. Apply now or apply later. You can apply now itself. Whatever you have done, you can apply the particular Power Query to your Power BI desktop. That means the same data which you have cleaned, which you have done certain changes will be pushed across to a Power BI desktop in order to work across. I am clicking on apply here. It will just load this particular data and push the same to your Power BI desktop. So you can just close this. You can say changes can be applied now. You click on yes, the Power Query editor, the same thing has been put up here. We didn't make much of the changes. We just saw how these options are available. So I've just kept the same data as it is. The transformations can be done accordingly as per the requirement. I just showed the process. After understanding how do you load the data, what are the slight transformations you can do for the data. If you find a larger mistake in your data, you can also clean the data with the Power Query. Now, we will start using column tools for data cleaning and structuring. This is one more option available in order to prepare your data. Here we use column tools in Power BI, that is desktop, again not in Power Query, which will help us to clean and structure the data very effectively. What are the key features here? First, we are seeing column formatting, adjust the column data format, and data categorization. You want to assign the categories like geographic, currency wise, etc. And then column renaming, improving the readability by renaming the columns. Let's quickly switch on to the Power BI desktop interface. Now, let's focus on column tools. So, here in the ribbon, you could find the column tools option. You have to click on this. Then, you could find data type here. You can find the name of the column here. What format is in, that is also been mentioned. You have summarization, data category, this categorized or uncategorized data. Let's navigate towards the sales. Let's see what changes can we do towards the sales here. Here the column sales is available. You could see there are decimals. I'll select this column and it says decimal numbers. So, we have not given any range for the decimal numbers. After point, how many numbers should be there? Nothing as such has been provided. I am just trying to give how many numbers after the decimal point to be displayed. Before it was auto, now I am giving the number as 2. And I'll press enter. See, after decimal point, you have 2 numbers available. If you give 3, it will take some time. You press enter. It will change. Here, after decimal point, it is giving us the 3 numbers. That's how you manage. And if you want to change the data type, you can change this to a whole number. So, it will give us a data type change warning. If you want to continue, you can continue. You can make it as the whole number. Again, if you don't want any decimal points after the whole number, you can just decrease that to be 0 very easily, right? Here you have a format also available. You have to change this particular format into whole number. So, it will be in the whole number format. Let me quickly put this back to decimal number. Here also I'll make it a decimal number. The data type changing, this is how it works. That's what I'm focusing to show you people. So, I'm putting the decimal points as 2. See, you have the decimal values which is having 2 numbers after the decimal point. So, I am just doing this changes here. Next, how do you adjust the format that has been told with respect to the decimal number? Let's take one more detail and try to do the adjustment. Now, let's select order date. This particular column, you could find there is different format that has been present here. The format can be changed accordingly. Look at the formats we have for date. If you want to change the format, you can just change it this way. You can select any of the format. This is how it looks like, and it is not applicable throughout wherever the data type is present. Instead, it is only format changing for this particular column where it has been selected. So, what do? I'll just keep this particular default long form of how it was before. So, I'm just putting it back again. So, this is how we do formatting for each and every column across. It can be a data type, it can be a format. You can change it accordingly by choosing the same. If you want to change the name of this particular column also, you can change it right here. I am removing this and I am writing order date placed. Something, just giving a certain name which has been, just giving a different name in order to show the difference. See, you could find order date placed is been present here. So, I am just removing, I am just putting this back again to order date. I am removing, so I am removing that and putting back again to order date. So, let me also maintain the same capitalization it had before. So, order date is done. I have pressed on enter. This is how you rename the column. So, what all did we learn? we learned the data type change, we learned the format change also, we learned renaming the columns. This is the basic. Next thing, let's see how do we categorize the data. For that, we have an option available, that is data category. It is generally uncategorized. So what do? I click on the drop down and I select any of the field. I'll select for now as city. Once I select this city, it will work accordingly and it will give us the detailed category which is related towards the city. What are the different things that is applicable towards one site that has been mentioned here. Here, you can also change this to be country. Once you select on country, it will change the data accordingly. It will categorize the data accordingly. While I was doing this, I saw this particular profit here. See, in this profit column, there is random number of decimals after this particular decimal point. There is random numbers after the decimal point. Let's make it uniform, make it 2 and just click on OK. So this is how you use column tools in order to make changes to the columns. Now that we have learnt how do we use column tools, we tried formatting the column, we tried categorizing the data, then we also renamed the column. We also changed the data type. How do we use all these options with the help of column tools? We had a quick demo. Hope you have got an idea how do you do the basic preparation of your data before putting that to a major work.
So what are the building blocks of Power BI? Now this is another important concept, theoretical in nature, but very important when you talk about its practical applications, something that is going to help us carry out our demos for this course much better. So let's try and understand what are the building blocks of Power BI. Now when you talk about Power BI, the major purpose of using Power BI is to generate effective visualizations. So when you talk about these effective visualizations, we are talking about some key concepts that concern visualizations. So what exactly is visualization? Let's try and understand that first. When you actually present your data in a visual form, say for example, you have certain set of information that can be represented by a pie chart or a bar graph. What it is, we'll understand these graphs and charts as we move further. But let's assume that you want to convey that information in that form. It would be easier for people to consume that information than the written information that we've discussed. And when you create a visual out of the information you have, we call it visualization. The other important point here is data sets. Now, to create visualizations, you'd be needing different data sets. Data sets can be in any form. We've already discussed different sources of data that Power BI supports, right? So understanding how the data looks like and how to get your data in is something that concerns your data sets bit here. Okay. And next, as we move further, we have some other bits that we can discuss and which are thoroughly or equally important, right? And those are your tiles, basically your reports and your dashboards. So let's try and understand them one by one. First in this list, we'll pick up what tiles are. So when you talk about tiles again is a flexible, movable visualization that you can pick up. You can put it in a report, you can put it in a dashboard, and that would convey a single set of information that concerns your requirement. And when you build on it and you create multiple such visualizations and tiles together, you put it in a report. Now, when you talk about a report is basically one or more pages of visualizations, graphics and texts that you can put together and convey a certain set of information. It is a little different than what a dashboard is. Whereas if you talk about dashboard in particular, it is nothing but basically conveying a lot of information on a single page. As we move further, we'll be classifying these two topics in detail. But let me quickly give you a quick overview of all these services again. So the first thing that you have on your plate is your data sets, right? Data sets is nothing but a different data sources from where you'll get your data. Next to it is creating visualizations out of the data that you have, and a single visualization would be known as a tile. If I basically go ahead and create multiple tiles or visualizations using the same data source, then it is called as a report. And when I have multiple reports with me, I can pick important pointers from each report and put it on a single canvas where I try to build a story. It is called as a dashboard. So these are the components of Power BI, or the building blocks rather, not the components. These are the building blocks of Power BI. Let us now go ahead and discuss Power BI reports in little more detail. When you talk about Power BI reports, now Power BI reports are nothing but a multi-perspective view or information into a particular data set, right? With visualizations that represent different findings and insights from that data set. So we are referring to a single data set, as I mentioned. A report may be a single visualization, or it could be multiple pages of different visualizations. So here your data set is single. Please note that. Okay. In Power BI, you can create your reports and you can edit the data that is there in your reports. But when you publish it as a dashboard is where you can interact with the data, but it is difficult to change your data once it is published in the form of a report. Let's try and understand what dashboards are first. So when you talk about dashboards are basically concepts where you try to build a particular story. If we go with the definition, it is a single page, also known as a canvas, that uses visualizations to tell a particular story. It is limited to one page, and a point note is that a good dashboard contains only the important elements of that story. Enough of reading the definition that is there on the screen, which has a grammatical error right now. Let me explain this concept to you more practically. Let's assume that you work for a particular company and you work for X team. Let's assume a marketing team. Now, you could be reporting data, your personal data or your team's data. There's a possibility of that. How does that work? Let's assume that there's a manager in the company who basically handles a marketing team, and there are like 15 marketing guys. So there could be a possibility that on monthly basis, every marketing guy reports the data to the manager. So there would be like 12 guys, 15 guys who report their data, having 15 reports. And then this is what my monthly report or weekly report would look like. So there would be 15 reports with the manager. A manager would consolidate that report into one major report that he has, where he talks about the entire marketing team, which has important information about every report that you have on a surface level. There could be hundreds of such teams, or maybe 10-15 teams in the company that serve different purposes. Let's assume that all these 15 teams have managers who create 15 individual reports for their teams. Now, if I talk about a stakeholder might not be interested in taking a look at those individual reports. What he wants is an insight as to what improved, what did not, and what we can do better. For that, what if we build a dashboard where we take in important pointers or the noticeable pointers that need to be noticed from each of these reports for individual teams, and put it on a canvas where we can build a story out of it. Say, for example, just because there were a lot of YouTube videos that were published on a particular channel, we saw a lot of traffic being generated for sales leads, and this is where the increase in sales happened. So we are passing on the information and trying to build a story by connecting the dots from different reports. And when you pick up this important information and build a story, we do that on a single canvas, and that canvas here is called as a dashboard. So I hope what a dashboard is clear to you people. Let us now go ahead and try and understand what Power BI DAX is. So when we talk about Power BI DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions, which again is nothing but a collection of functions, operators, and constants. It is used in formulae, and basically it returns one or more variables. It is a native formula and a query language by Microsoft. Now this is what the definition has to say. Let me, however, simplify the whole data here, the whole definition for you. In simple words, DAX or data analysis queries are nothing but these are a process where you can create functions, right? Or basically you can create sub functions using which you can generate certain values. Say, for example, you are talking about a certain data set where you have maybe categories with you. Now you want to count the number of categories that are there. So you can create a separate function called as count, and you can add that as a measure in your table values, so that next time when you look for the count, you have that as a column name with you. Now, why do you need this to start with? Even when you have all this data filtering and all the processing with you, if you have something like DAX, you can always on the fly add custom functions, custom measures to your data. As we get into the demo part, we would understand how to go ahead and set this in process. But before that, let's quickly understand some of the pointers that are here. To start with, DAX is a functional query language. So you can basically create certain functions and basically bring out certain functions that you want to generate results. It deals with relational data. Yes, obviously, if you talk about something like Power BI, we are mostly concerned with relational data, not mostly, always concerned with relational data, and it helps you perform aggregations. This is something we'll see as we get into the demo part. Next, let us go ahead and understand what are the components of Power BI DAX. So when you talk about DAX in general, DAX has three components. One is the syntax, the other one is the function, and the third one is the context. Now, when you talk about a function is nothing but a formula, something like sum, something like count, right? So that is a function. Syntax, what is a syntax? Syntax is nothing but grammar to implement something, right? When you talk about syntax for English language, grammar for English language, it is nothing but how you form a sentence, right? In mathematics, syntax can be creating mathematical functions, mathematical formulae that would give you result. Just like in programming, we have syntax that is used to basically convey a particular action, right? Similarly, when you talk about Power BI, we are talking about mathematical calculations here, aggregations here. And for that, you'd be needing some grammar, some syntax. And this is what the component syntax of Power BI gives you. Next, you have context. Now, context is the ability to create functions, right? So if you are dealing with basically adding or working with row values, this context would be called as row context. Similarly, if you are adding a filter either to a column or even to a row or to the entire data, then it is called as a filter context. So basically you have two contexts here, that is your filter context and your row context. Similarly, you have functions and syntax in Power BI DAX. Let us now go ahead and move into the Power BI console and try and understand how DAX functions can be created or how do they work. We would be going ahead and creating quite a lot of visualizations, but that is for the later bit. For now, let's try and understand how Power BI DAX works and what all can you do with Power BI DAX. So to do that, let's assume that we have quite a few measures here, quite a few stuff that we can work around with. So here's a column name called as subcategory. Let's try and write a DAX query for it or a function for it that gives you the count of the subcategories that we have with us. So if we come here in the data source, you'd get to know that we would be having this category of subdata somewhere, right? This is what we have here. Let's assume that I want to count all these categories. Now, fortunately for us, we can keep a track of it. If I scroll down, you would see that there are 9994 rows. So our count should be around that, right? If we create a count function for or a count measure for this particular subcategory. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to test if the hypothesis is correct. If I create a count function that basically gives me a count of the total rows under a subcategory, can we do that? Yes. How do we do that? I come here, I right click and I say new measure. And what is the measure that I'm going to create? Let's call it subcategory count. Okay, so as you can see, Power BI is smart enough to give you suggestions where it would suggest certain things to you, basically operate with, so that your functioning becomes easier. Let's see how does that work. If I come here, okay, and now I want to count it, right? So all I have to do is I have to just type COU maybe, right? So it will suggest the possible functions. If I had to do sum, I would have typed sum, right? It would have given me that. So again, it is suggestive, this interface, where if you put in certain values, it would suggest a solution for it. Now let us go ahead and look for count and select count. There you go. And it would open the syntax for you. What it suggests is enter the column name for which you want to count, right? Let's say subcategory. You see, so the orders table has subcategory. I'm just gonna go ahead and enter it here, and I'm gonna hit the enter button. And once I do that, the category gets added here. You see, if I come here and drop it here, you see it creates a bar graph for me. Okay, we'll understand all these graphs and stuff, but I want to check whether the count is correct or not. So there's a visualization Power BI called as card visualization. You see, it gives you this number, suggesting that there are these many subscribers, and that is the not subscribers, subcategory count. And that is the count that we saw here at the bottom, isn't it? 9994. So it is giving us right and exact values that meet our requirements, isn't it? I'm going to remove this for now, and I'm going to remove this from here as well. So the subcategory count thing, I want to delete it. I do not want it here. I'm going to just delete it. Yes. So this is how your DAX basically works like. Okay. I hope that is clear to you people. So what are the different data visualization tools that are there in the market? Now, when you talk about data visualization tools, there are quite a few popular data visualization tools out there. You have Tableau, you have Excel, Power BI, the one that we are talking about. Apart from that, you have tools like ClickView, ClickSense, right? When you talk about tools like ClickView, ClickSense, those are again data visualization tools, powerful ones, but more towards the analytical side of things. When you talk about Power BI and Tableau, these are end-to-end analytical yet data visualization and business intelligence tools. In this race, you have something called as Excel. Now, many of you might wonder as in why are we having Excel in this race? Guys, Excel is one of those perennial horses that has been there in the race since a very long time, and I don't see it dying down anytime soon. People who are skilled in Excel can do so many things. Why? Because Excel is a multi-purpose tool where you can not just report data, record data, but you can also create visualizations out of it. And the best thing about Excel is it also serves as a base, as a file that can be imported in the form of a data source for Tableau, Power BI and other tools. And then you can actually go ahead and create visualizations in these tools. So it acts as a supplement for these tools as well. And that is why Excel finds its place in this list of these tools. So that is what Excel is, right? Other tools that you have is your Tableau, you have your Power BI, right? Now these tools, these initiated around 2013 and 14, right? But Tableau was the first one that came into market, and it was closely followed by Power BI. Okay. So Tableau again is a very popular product, one of the leading ones when you talk about data visualization tools. If you take a look at Gartner's quadrant, these two are very close to each other, suggesting that they're highly popular and highly competitive. Power BI on the other hand is a Microsoft product. So again, one of the benefits is we all know how big a company, how big a giant Microsoft is when you talk about the tech world. They already have plenty of tools that they have to offer. With Power BI, the benefit is it readily integrates with this stack of products offered by Microsoft, giving it an edge in the market. If you look at it from visualization perspective, Tableau gives you high quality visualizations with great smoothness. Power BI on the other hand gives you a lot of options when it comes to visualizations. You can create so many types of visualizations, and it also gives you better integration facility compared to Tableau. So again, as an individual, you might wonder which is the best tool to meet my needs. So there's no perfect winner here. It's all about understanding which tool would fit into your business requirements better, and then again going ahead and picking one. Because when you talk about Tableau or Power BI from a job perspective, both of these tools are fairly strong, fairly good, and offer fairly large number of options when you talk about jobs, when you talk about it from a career perspective, or when you talk about different companies wanting to using these tools. So yes, these tools are right up there in the market, and even if you're skilled in any one of these three, they're fairly good tools out there. But we would be talking about a specific tool only. So I believe by now you've understood what data visualization is and how it works, and what are the different tools that data visualization offers to us, or we can do data visualization using it, right? And let us try and understand visual analytics. Visual analytics is nothing but the ability to use visualization to convey information better. So this is where we are going to get into the details, into the demo of Power BI. We will explore Power BI to the core, and at the same time we would understand different visualizations that are there with us. So let us just go ahead or go back to our Power BI console and see how we can do all these things. So I've gone ahead and I've opened up the Power BI console. Let's try and understand this console. So I've actually given you an explanation as to what this interface does and how it looks like. Now we are going to go ahead and drill down into it from more of visual analytics perspective. But for us to understand this better, let us try and understand the different visualizations that we have with us, or what are the popular visualizations, charts and graphs that we know of. So let me quickly explain those to you. Okay, let's do that. So talking about the types of visuals or charts we can create or we can think of. Now there are plenty of those. I mean, there are 40s, 50s, hundreds of these. So we'll discuss the basic ones and the important ones that are centric to all the other charts. So the very first chart that should come to your mind is bar graph or a bar chart. This is something that is very popularly used as many statisticians. This is something that we learn in schools as well, right? A bar graph is more of a graph that gives the information about two values and how do they work around each other. Let me quickly define this for you to start with, and then we can go ahead and see this in the visualization part as well. So when you talk about bar graphs, it is the simplest and the most straightforward way to compare various categories in the classic graph. It is one of the most recognized visualizations, graphs or charts out there. When you talk about bar graphs, they are very popular or known for visually presenting nearly any type of data. In particular, we are talking about if you want to compare multiple variables, this would be a good option to do that. And to give you an example, let's come here. Let's just go ahead and create a sample visualization. Again, guys, I'll be talking about quite a few pointers. Do not engage yourself into this, as in if you feel that this interface is new, but we'll get into the details of it. See, this is a bar graph, right? What you see here. So this is how you create a bar graph. How do we get into the details of it? This is something we'll discuss once we are done with talking about all the graphs that are there with us. Now, let us go back to the sheet and talk about the next one. Then is the pie chart. So when you talk about the pie chart or pie graph, it's not a graph, it's a chart basically. Pie chart is nothing but a circular graph or a visualization that you can think of. And when you talk about this, this is how a pie chart looks like. But the fact that there's only one value here, it would look a little different. Let's just put in categories here, and this is what a pie chart looks like. So basically you're talking about a particular entity. If divided into multiple parts or into subcategories, how would that entity look like? When you're looking for this sort of information, this graph is called as your pie chart. And again, if I remove this, there is third thing on our list, which is a line graph or a line chart. Let's call it line graph. Line graphs are something that are very important when you talk about comparing two variables in real time or in time format. To give you an idea, let's assume that you have order date with you and you want to calculate profit, and you create a line graph. See, this is something that would give you value for two variables in varying time. So that is what a line graph does for you. Again, I'm covering these things quickly because I want to discuss other pointers as we get into the details of data visualization, but these are the basics that should also be clear to you people. So I'm just walking you through those pointers. And then you have your histograms. Now histograms are nothing but continuous bar graphs that basically show values for basically continuous values that are broken down in intervals. Like let's assume that you want to draw a graph for values between 10 to 20. Similarly, 20 to 30 is another graph. So you'll be having a bar graph that is connected to each other, maybe 10-15 graphs or bars that are connected to each other. That kind of diagram is called as a histogram. So these are some of the popular graphs that people use. The other one are your geographic graphs or geospatial graphs. These are something that are used to convey information based on the location. Something that we'll see as we get into the visual analytics part, which we are going to do right away. So let's just go back and now try and understand how Power BI works and what all can we do with Power BI. So all the formalities, all the basics that are required have been covered. Now let us try and understand how can we create visualization using Power BI. Now all this while we've talked about all the concepts that are important for you to get started with this demo. Let's just go ahead and try and implement those things one by one. In the previous demo where I talked about the interface, we've actually gone ahead and see how we can basically import data and how the data looks like, as you can see here. So we are still with the Superstore dataset that was there with us. Now what we are going to do here is we are going to go ahead and continue our visualization from there. So there are certain things about the interface that we might have not discussed here yet. That is, how do we create visualizations in Power BI? Now there are plenty of options for you to do that. One is you can either double click on the column name that you have. The other thing is you can first select a visualization like this and you can put in values there, or you can first select values here and then choose a visualization to meet your needs. By default, Power BI will suggest certain visualizations which it feels is best to represent a particular set of information. So you can choose both the options if you want to. Let's try and do the visualization process and see how does it go or how does it work for us. So to start with, first let's try and visualize certain data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up order date. Okay. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put in my profits. You see, so it gives me profits for n number of years that are there. With Power BI, you can right away adjust all the profit and stuff that you want here itself. All your graphs can be resized to meet your needs and you can actually go ahead and look into the values the way you want to. Now, what you see here is you see profits for the following years, right? It's what, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? So it's fairly old data. But it doesn't matter. It is for the demo purpose, so we should not be putting in too much thoughts into these things. How do we go about this drilling down process here? I had given you an example in the theory part where I mentioned that you can drill down into your data. Now let's assume that you want to take a look at the data by drilling down. Can we drill down? Yes. So let me click here. So we should have gotten values. Yeah, there you go. So it has drilled down now and you see the data is there as per the quarters that we have, right? So it is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. So the data here is now divided into quarters if I want. If I go back, it would give me yearly data, and if I click on this, it would give me quarterly and yearly data both, the final one. So it is merging all the views that are there. So you see quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3 for 2013, similarly for 14, right? And this is how it looks like. In Power BI, you can actually have marked labels as well. If you want to take a look at values, you can just hover on it and you'll get the value. If you click on this particular thing, it will give you, okay, I actually accidentally clicked somewhere else. So it has just changed the axis for the data, something that I do not want. So I'm going to remove it from here for now. I'm going to just go back and put in the data again. So order date is what I have, and I have the profit here with me, isn't it? Now, if I just come here and if I just put this information in a corner, let's try and create some other visualizations as well. I'm going to go ahead and pick this visualization and I'm going to show you how Power BI functions. So now I'm gonna just expand this information, whatever it is here. I want a bigger chart for this. And again, let me just go ahead and put in profit. And let's see if we can put in something else. What is the other thing that we can put in? Let's put in sales. You see, for the total sales, the profit that we had was limited. And if I click on the profit that I want to see, it's represented by this. If I click here, this is what I'll get. But this is not one of the best visualizations that I would want. Let's just come here and put in order date here. Now, if I click on this particular thing, it would highlight that particular graph in the other visualization that I have. So you can do that as well, right? Let's assume that you want to find out profit based on the subcategory that you have. So I'm going to remove the order date for now. And I'm going to come ahead and pick my subcategory option here. I can drag and drop it and it will still represent the same information to me. Now, let's just go ahead and click on this particular value. You see, so what this suggests is copiers had this much amount of profit, and for every year, this is the amount. So there was a rise in copiers profit, and it was a fairly good amount of rise. If I come here and if I click on it, the profit is 49543, right? If I come here, it is 61618. This year it is 81726, and this particular year it is 93507. So basically, if I compare it with this value, the profit has almost doubled, right? So this is how you can actually go ahead and track your data in numerous ways by using Power BI. Again, let's assume that you want to play around with the colors that you have. You can do that. In the axis, you can again play around with a lot of stuff. We'll drill down further, but for now, let's just come here and let's play with the data colors. Can I change colors? Let's assume that I want to have a different color for my graphs. If I select this and I just change a color here, let's say I want it pink. So all of this will change or have a different color, and you see all of it is reflecting here. Apart from that, if you want to do other things, you can actually go ahead and play around with it. Do you want borders here? Do you want backgrounds? Do you want to add images in background? You can do that. Why do we need to add images in the background? What purpose does that serve for me? Let's assume that I use images in the background. In that case, the benefit that I get out of adding those images in the background is, let's assume that I'm putting forth a report for a particular company. Let's assume that I want to have a logo there of that company. I can do that. Let's assume I'm creating an IPL dashboard. So in that, if I add a background of IPL trophy or maybe IPL teams together and I make it little less, I reduce its transparency. In that case, whatever is on top, that would get highlighted, yet having a plain background about IPL in the back. So you can actually go ahead and do all these things here, right? So this is how you go ahead and create visualizations in Power BI. Let us come ahead, or in the next page rather, and create other kinds of visualizations that we can think of. So let me just go ahead and use this. This is a geographic graph, and since it is a geographic graph, I'm going to go ahead and put in profit here. So this will take time to load because it's a geographic graph. At times it consumes more time than expected. And let's just talk about profits state-wise. Are we getting any information here? Yeah, there you go. So there's some information here. This is not again the best of visualizations that you could have used. Let's see if we can reflect any information here, right? For that, I'm going to go ahead and put in my sales. Okay, again, not the best of visuals. So let's just uncheck all of this information that we have with us, right? And I'm going to just go ahead and remove this for now. The reason I'm doing that is I'll tell you. Let's assume you put in states here. Okay, you see it is giving you information about different states that are there. So these are the different states. Now let us come here and add certain values. If I add states to the legend, it will give different colors to it. If I add it latitude, again there should not be any change here, but instead Let's just go ahead and add profit now. Let's see if we get any profit here. We won't. Yeah, it's there. So basically, you see New York is the one that had good amount of chunk of profit, right? Similarly, here California also has good amount of profit. What this suggests is two of the major states in the country had a surplus amount of profit, and it is understandable. These are the bigger states or the more industrious states of the country. So basically, again, you can create visualizations depending upon how do you want to deal with it, right? Let's assume that I come back to my previous table or sheet, and here I put in this thing. This is a card value. So if I click on the card value, and if I put in my profit here, it will give me profit, right? So this is the profit we had in total. Okay, let's assume that I want to filter it. Can I do that? Yes. So what are the filter conditions that we can have here? Okay, we cannot apply filter condition to this. Maybe to this we can. Let's try and filter it out. So whatever is the profit, which is, let's assume the maximum profit here right now is 44.52, right? So let's put forth details saying that whatever is the profit that is below 30,000. Okay, not a great filter. We'll add filters later. But I hope the idea or the gist is clear to you. And when you talk about a card image, it will give you values based on the other visualizations that you have. So you can always have highlighters added here or there. And this is how the visualizations look like when you create visualizations using Power BI. So we've seen a line chart before. We've seen a pie chart now. We've seen a bar graph as well. So this is how you actually go ahead and create visualizations. And there are plenty of options here for you to choose from. If you want global information, you can come here and just click on this globe, and you can have information represented globally as well if you want to. So if you put forth the state here, you'll have global representation of the information that we just did. So you can use these if you want. So it depends upon your usage. What are you trying to use and how are you trying to play around with the data? There are plenty of things that you can look into, right? But when you create a report, right? So you've created a report here, you can publish it. Let's try and do that. Let's save this report as demo report or GLA. Let's just say save. Now it would ask me, do you want to open it or where do you want to save it to start with? Save it in my workspace. For this, you'd be needing your email ID. So make sure you have one. So publishing it to Power BI. It would put it on Power BI server when it gets published. So this is where you would be needing internet connections as well. So when you click on it, it should open that report for you. There you go. This is the report that we created. Now, since it is published, you cannot just come here and do whatever changes you want to. You can interact with it, but not go ahead and make changes here. Now, this is a report, but I want to publish it to a dashboard. So in a dashboard, you are going to go ahead and put in certain visuals that you have, right? So we discussed what dashboards are. Dashboards are nothing but a single canvas where you can take in data from different reports as well. So to give you a context, you see there would be quite a few reports that I have created till time. So let me just see if there are reports here in my workspace. There you go. So these are some older dashboards that are there with me, and these are multiple reports that I have with me. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try and create a dashboard where I'll pick in some random reports and from those reports I'll pick up some random visualizations that I would add to one canvas, to one dashboard. So let's pick one. Demo report GL is the first one that we've created right today. So let's just click on this and let's say I want this graph. So I'm gonna select it and I'm gonna say pin it to a dashboard. What is the dashboard? I'll just create a new one. Let's call it GLA Power BI, and I'm gonna say pin it here. Do you want to go to the dashboard? Please do that. You see, there's this visualization, and again, now you cannot act on it. Okay, you cannot make changes to it, but you can go back to the report from where it was created. How? You click here and it would take you back to the report, right? So I'm going to go back again to my workspace, and here I'm going to go to the report. This time I'm going to pick up a random report. Let's say report 1, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up this pie chart. I'm going to say pin where? To the dashboard. Which one? GLA Power BI. So if I go, it says, do you want to create a phone view? If you create a phone view, you can send these on your mobile app and you can view it there as well. Okay, so this is how you do it. The icon went away though, so I'm going to go back to the reports in the workspace. I'm going to go to the dashboards that I have, and GLA Power BI is what I'm going to open. You see, I picked up another visual from another report, and now in this report we have two different visuals with us, right? So this is how you actually go ahead and create reports in Power BI, or dashboards rather, not reports, these are dashboards. So this is how you create dashboards in Power BI, right? And in Power BI, you can also go ahead and ask questions to the data that you have. Okay, so let's assume that I'm in Q&A and I'm going to check. If I come back here, you see this is profit that we have. I'm going to ask a question. 2014. Okay, so it's opening table for me. I don't want that. I just want the profit. It says blank. That is not possible. Let's just go back here and check. My profit in 2014 was 61618. So let's just say profit. Okay, this is irritating, but let's try this. $2014. It's 62.88k. There you go. So it's near about that. I'm not sure why is it giving a different value, but it's near about that, right? So this is how you can ask questions to your Power BI data that you have, and you can do numerous things with it. Similarly, if I go back to the Tableau interface, I told you that we can visualize data here as well. In Tableau too, the interface is fairly similar, right? You can just double click on a particular value and you'd get information about that. Say for example, I just double clicked on order data. So yes, we have the order date now, and now I'm gonna go ahead and close this for now. Remove. Okay, next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pick up sales, one of the easiest data to deal with, right? Sales. So it will give me sales based on the year, you see, and by default it suggests a line graph suggesting that you would be calculating sales for a particular year, and since it is values that are changing in time, you can have sales for multiple years represented by a line graph. A Tableau also suggests certain things on the fly. If you have one visualization like this, you can actually go ahead and put it on a dashboard, and for that you have to just click here, and that sheet where you created all the information, that would be available here. In Tableau you have options of tiled and floating visuals as well. So if I want to add it here, if I choose floating, I can just go ahead and add it here and it floats around. See, let's assume that I make it tiled. This one will move, but if I add a new sheet, it won't move around in this case. So let me remove this. Let me show you. You see, it's not possible for you to move it. It's consumed the whole space. You can maybe minimize it, but not move it around, right? So this is how Tableau works for you, right? But we are mostly focusing on Power BI right now. Let's just close the Tableau thing and come to Power BI. So this is how you create different visualizations in Power BI. And these are the different things that you can do with Power BI at stretch, at length.
Now we will learn how do we use Power Query for data transformation. First, we will see a feature using first row as header. We have to convert the first row of the table to be the header. That is the major constraint. What are the steps we have to follow? We have to click on Transform Data. We have to select the table where we want to modify. Then go to Home tab of Power Query Editor. Click on Use First Row as Headers. Then confirm the change. Close and apply. This is the simple thing we have to do. Let's quickly hop to Power BI Desktop and see how do we navigate across in order to achieve using first row as header. What we have to do? Let's quickly recap. We have to click on the Transform Data. Once we do that, we get a Power Query Editor. Here, we have to click on Home. You will get an option called Use First Row as Headers. Just see here what has happened. We have row ID, order, priority, discount, etc. This row ID, the row number 1, 20847, this complete row will be at the first. Let's see for the result. Go on Home, click on Use First Row as Header. See, 20847. That has been mentioned to be a header here. So, it has removed the original header which was already there, but instead we have made the first row as header. This is the usage of Use First Row as Header option available in Power Query. Once you do this, you can just save it. You can just apply. It will load this particular data to your desktop. Once you apply, you save this, it will reflect the same on Power BI Desktop. Just minimize this. This is how it looks like. See, the header is gone and the first row has become the header here. If you have any pending queries which you have worked on which is not implemented into Power BI Desktop, this is where it will show a caution. If you want to apply, you can apply the changes. If you don't want to, you can discard the changes. Click on discard. So, this is how it is. Now, let's see what next. After knowing the feature of using the first row as the header, now let's see how do we remove blanks and duplicates. You have to just clean the data. Again, you have to go to the Transform Data from Power BI Desktop, which lands up to Power BI Query. There you have to go to Home tab, then click on Remove Rows. There you have to select Remove Blank Rows. After that, the same process, then you have to select Remove Duplicates. We have to verify the blanks has been gone, everything is clear, close and apply. That's what the actions to be done. Let's quickly switch on to Power BI Desktop. We are continuing from the same place where we left. We have to click on Home as mentioned. Then you have to click on Remove Rows. Here, once you click on the Remove Rows, you will get a lots of options. First, we have to remove the blank rows. Once we do that, the blank rows will be removed. Wherever it is available throughout the data, it is removed. Then again, go back to Home, click on Remove Rows, then remove the duplicates. Once you do that, the duplications will also be removed. Just press on Save. You have to apply this particular cleaned data to your Power BI Desktop app which has been worked upon. See, it will be replaced right here. Let's go back to the Power Query and just see what all next we can do. After removing blanks and duplicates, we have applied the same which is reflecting on the Power BI Desktop from the Power Query. Now, let's see what else we can do. We can do unpivoting, pivoting and transposing data. In order to unpivot the data, we have to click on the same Transform Data from the Power BI Desktop. Then highlight the columns where you want to unpivot. You have to click on the Transform tab, select Unpivot Columns. As simple as that. We can review the data later. Before hopping on to the interface, let's see how do we do pivoting also. Again, you have an option in the same place. You have a Transform tab, then you have to pivot the column. You have to select which column you want to pivot. You just have to click on the particular menu. Next, Transposing Data. In the same Transform tab, you can transpose the data. You can verify the tables, rows and columns will be swapped. So, transpose works that way. Let's see all the three operations together: unpivoting, pivoting and transposing the data. Okay. Now, what do I do? I'm just continuing from the same place. I'm selecting a column here. I'm going to transform and I'm selecting unpivot columns. Once we do unpivot, it will do certain changes to that particular column that has been mentioned. Then we'll go back to transform data. Then we try to pivot the column. I'm using the same column. I'm just trying to pivot. It says use names in column attribute to create new column. If you want to create a new column, you can do that. Else, if you want to change the value, you can just mention what you have to change the value column. Then you can click on OK. We have completed unpivoted, pivoted. Now let's transpose. So how do we transpose? You have to click on the transform and then you have to select the transpose right below the transform tab. So I'm just transposing. See, it is transposed the complete rows to columns, columns to rows. The transpose has been complete. I'm just removing this particular transposed table action which we did. So I think it is not that clear when you transpose. Row should be at the row level, column should be at the column level. So I'm just removing this. So this is how we can do pivoting, unpivoting and transpose. Let's see how do we do text operations, appending and merge tables. We've already seen how do we merge the columns, but let's see again how do we merge the tables. First, in text operation, we have to go to transform data again and we have to click on a column with text data and we have to transform the text tab using the options like format, extract, replace values, etc. to clean and manipulate the text. Then, in order to appending the tables, you have to click on the transform data, you have to go to the home tab and just you have to append the queries. You have to select tables or queries to append and click on OK. You can review the combined data as a result on your preview screen. Then merging tables. It's as simple as that. We've already done this. We will select the table 1 and table 2 or column 1 or column 2. You merge, you define which kind of join you want to merge and you can check the result. It's very simple to do this way. Let's quickly hop on to Power BI desktop and just check how does this 3 things can happen. Repeating, how do we do the text operations, append and merging the tables. I'm continuing from the same place where I left. I'm selecting a column which is having text. Now I click on transform. I go to format and I make everything a uppercase. So look at the change. You could find all the uppercase letters here. Again, I'm going to transform and make it a capitalize each word. So this is how it was, making it back again the same way it is. I'm clicking on transform again and I'm just trying to extract first characters. So what is the first set of characters you want? I say 5. I click on OK. So only first characters is being extracted here. Then I'll go back and try to find and replace. So replace values is available here. So I'll find Alexa, which is there, and make it Alex. So you could see right here you have Alexa, which has been repeated here in row 2 and 3. I'm making that Alexa to be Alex and click on OK. So it changes Alexa to Alex. So this is how you can do certain text formatting. After we do this, let's hop back and just try to do the merging and appending. You click on the home tab and you have append queries here. What tables you want to append? 2 or more. So I'll select on written. I press on OK. So one table is been appended, that is written. I'll go back again and just see there was one more option. What was that? 3 or more tables. So available tables are these. You can append the orders which is current table with the written. In order to add that, you have to select the returns and click on add. You press on OK. So it will combine this particular tables together. So when it is applied, this is how it will start giving us the status of which step we are stopped at. And if you save this, the same particular refined data will be sent to Power BI desktop. That will happen. Now let's check out the last one, that is merging. I am clicking on home and I'm trying to merge queries. This is already seen, it's very familiar for you, but still I'm just showing you back again. There is a default table called order, then I am putting that particular table content as a first table, then I am choosing the returns. Once I do that, you can also mention which kind of join you have to use in order to join this. I am just selecting right outer join, and it is not giving as an option to press OK. Why? We have to select a column which is common in both of the table. So that is order ID. Here actually we have used the row to be the first header. So instead this particular order ID is returned as it is. For now it is null because we were just randomly checking how it is working. So all these values has been changed. I am selecting both the columns here. I am clicking on OK. So it says that the complete merging is being done. So this is how you will refine your data, make your data ready and push that into Power BI desktop with the help of Power Query. This is the use of Power Query editor. You can refine your data at the most minute level, how you want to send that particular refined data to the exact analysis where it will be taken on Power BI desktop. For now, I am not saving this. I am not sending this data to the Power BI desktop. But if you see, if you make certain changes in Power Query, it will always show you this warning. Some changes has been undergone. Do you want to apply that changes? The complete changes will be pushed to this particular original data on the Power BI query. It will be updated. If you want to discard, you can just discard the changes. It will not change anything on the orders, right? See, you could see only the saved one. You remember, use first row as the header is only applicable because I saved it and pushed it to this particular main Power BI desktop. Other changes are not done. It is not merged, it is not done anything, whatever the steps we followed in order to refine the data.
So guys, you see there's so many fields with us, isn't it? So what are the kinds of visualizations that we can do, right? Let's take a look at some of the Batsmen. First of all, I'm gonna drag up this field. So guys, if you're new to this Power BI tool, I'll tell you how to visualize your data, right? So let me just quickly drag and drop Batsmen and runs. You see, we get some metrics, but not all. I'm gonna just go ahead and put in Batsmen here. You see guys, and within minutes, I have the runs scored by the Batsmen, right? Top scorer for this data set is Virat Kohli. Right now, I'm not sure who's the top scorer because this data is a year old. That is why some numbers might not be very accurate. But yeah, you see, this is the data set. And this is not a very great visualization either. So I'm going to make some changes and chopping here. So again, guys, since there are so many batsmen, right, who batted in IPL, you cannot just go ahead and make some sense out of it, right? So let's just go ahead and add some filters to it, right? So batsman runs, I'm gonna say greater than. Let's try 3000 and see if we can reduce the number. There you go, the number is reduced fairly, right? So we've actually gone ahead and broken it down to 10 to 15 values to the max, and now this visualization can be clearer. And if we just go ahead and look for 4000, so what that would give us is what are the top batsmen that have scored more than 4000 runs. And you can see, you can actually count it on fingers, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10 in total, right? So these are the only people who have scored more than 4000 runs, right? Gautam Gambhir is the last one in this list, and Virat Kohli is the first one, Suresh Raina and Rohit Sharma. So all these have been very neck and neck. Unfortunately, Suresh Raina is not playing this year, so these two can actually take over. I won't doubt if they've already taken it over. Yes, meanwhile in the chat, can you let me know who is your favorite batsman amongst the top run scorers that we have with this? Just quickly let me know about it, okay? And guys, when you talk about Power BI, there are quite a few things that we can do. We can add or insert images in the backgrounds, right? And we can play around with a lot of data that is there with us. We'll do a few of those things as well. Okay, so guys, when you talk about Power BI, there are quite a few other things that you can do. You can add specific colors to these things. Say for example, now we know it's Virat Kohli who bats for Royal Challengers Bengaluru, right? When you talk about Royal Challengers Bengaluru, its jersey is red in color mostly, right? Red and black. So let's just go ahead and select a particular data color. I'm gonna just make it, I don't have reddish here in the option. So if I go to custom colors and pick the red part of it, see Virat Kohli is the red one, Suresh Raina is the yellow one for us, right? So I've actually accidentally changed every color that is there, but you can go ahead and do it for individual labels as well. That should not be a problem. Okay, so go ahead and play along with it if you want to. So you can do that as well, but meanwhile that's not important, right? We'll use different colors for different tables as we move ahead. So what I'm trying to say here is you can add different colors here. In this particular visualization that we've done, forgive me for all the noise guys, there's a train passing by. So I live very close to a train station. So if you go to plot area, right, and you can say add image, just go ahead and pick up that image that you've put forth. And just like that, you have Virat Kohli here. Why? Because he scored the most runs, so why not just add his details there, right? So again guys, whatever image you've added, you can again even make that image look little different. I'll show you how. So if you just go back and select that image, you can just come to the plot area again. Okay, whatever image you've selected, just reduce its transparency. You see, so if the image is very bright, you can control its brightness as well, but in this case that is not the problem because our other colors are fairly bright, so that should still be good enough for us, right? So Virat Kohli's part is done. What are the other things that we can do at, right? We have so much data here. What are the other visualizations that we can play with? So guys, batting team is one, right? You have bowling teams, you have quite a few other things that you can pick from. Let me just quickly go ahead and see if we can just open matches data set. Right, you have this player of the match thing, right? I'm gonna drop it here. So this is something that tells you how many players or what players have won the most number of player of the match award, right? So I've actually gone ahead and put forth a visualization here, but it's not very clear because I've not put it in the values part. If I put the values part here, I'll get all the information. You see, again, there's a lot of information that I have. Can I add colors to it? Definitely I can add colors to it. I'm just going to pick it up and put legends here. So it chooses colors on its own. But still, this is not very clear to me. I don't need so many fields, right? Let's just go ahead and then try to add other filters here. Can we do that? Yes. Player of the match, count of the player of the match. Let's say that it is greater than 15. Should that be good enough? There you go. If you want, we can again short it down to further lesser number of people. Let's say 18 and then apply. So there are only 2 people who have 18, right? So guys, again, it depends how much data do you want to visualize. Now in this case, we've been creating bar graphs for a fairly long time, right? So, and here too, I do not have the number and clarity of who's done what. Why can't I create other visualizations for this? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just go ahead and put the same data here. There you go. And I'm going to add filter. And this time too, I'm going to add it to 15. Okay. Guys, there's another way of doing this, which is an easier way. But since many of you are starting new, I don't want to complicate things. See, this is where we get all the information. And if this data is not visible to you people, You can just hover around it. Player of the match, Chris Gayle is the one who has the maximum number of man of the match awards, and unfortunately he is not playing. He is coach now, but you can see that he's won 21 man of the match awards, right? Next to him is your AB de Villiers, who's won like 20 man of the match. That is not surprising at all, right? And you see, if you just go ahead and take a look at this one, right? David Warner, he's the third one on the list, and his man of the match awards are like 17. MS Dhoni again is fairly popular, same number, they're sharing it. Rohit Sharma 17, and then you have Yusuf Pathan, that is surprising, who's got like 16 man of the match awards in total, right? In this matches we have the cities and we have the data set that talks about the venue as well. Let's just go ahead and pick venues here. Okay, so you see these are the different venues that we have with us. Now this venue does not give us information about how many matches were conducted at which stadium, right? But it should give us that information as well. Why that is not doing so? We are gonna just go ahead and pick up the venue again, and we're gonna put it here. No. So this is something that I don't want to do. Okay, this visualization is not very good for us. Let's just go ahead and pick up a clustered column chat instead, right? And now let us go ahead and put venues here. You see, we'll get to know which team has won or basically played, or which ground basically has how many matches. Now all of this is very small information, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add some filter to the venues, right? Let's do it based on the number of matches. So Wankhede has the maximum 73 matches that have happened here, right? I think that is the maximum. So Sawai Mansingh has 47, 56 for Rajiv Gandhi Stadium. Can you tell me guys which stadium is called as Rajiv Gandhi Stadium? What place is Rajiv Gandhi Stadium at? Just let me know about that in the chat box if you know the answer. Then you have your M.A. Chidambaram Stadium, right? You have M. Chinnaswamy, the Bangalore Stadium. And then if we scroll up, we should also have Firoz Shah Kotla and Eden Gardens. There you go. So guys, these are the popular stadiums we have in India, and these are the ones that have the maximum number of matches being played, right? So if you want to have the matches numbers also denoted here, let's just go back to this part, go to the data labels and say on. So you'll get the match number as well. So I was wrong. Eden Gardens has the maximum number of matches, which is 77. 73 is for the M.A. Chinnaswamy Stadium. Wankhede has 73. So it's actually third in the list, right? And Rashmik Vlogs has answered that it is the Hyderabad Stadium. Very good, and good that you all are attentive and listening to whatever is happening here. Okay, so guys, this is how you get information about stadiums as well, right? So you can pick different things and do different things here. Now let's assume that this data set is good. So I'm just gonna make a copy of it and try another visualization for it. There you go, just like that, it gave me a pie chart as well, right? So if you move it here, if you adjust it here, you can have more space here. Now again, let me copy this and let me move it like this, right? And I'm gonna use a different visualization for it. You see, so guys, there are different ways in which you can visualize your data. There's a lot of information that you can get out of these visualizations, right? And once you have these visualizations, you can actually go ahead and publish these informations. So guys, let's just go ahead and take a look at the toss decisions, right? So you see we have the data set. So toss winner is the one who's won the toss, and toss decision is basically whether it was to bat or ball. So when you just go ahead and pick toss winner, right? Again, not the best of visualizations. So I'm gonna just go ahead and pick and drop this here in the values part, and then we'll get to know who's won the most number of tosses, right? So you see guys, this is an old data set, so we have some information for Rising Pune Super Giants as well, right? and we have some information for so Rising Pune Supergiants. The data set has two values. I do not know why that is the case, but for like you have data for Kochi as well. So these were the two teams that played for only couple of years. If I'm not wrong, it was around 2017. 16 is the year when they played. 17th was the one where Rising Pune Supergiants made it to the semi-finals. Sorry, to the finals, right? So you see that there's a lot of data here. We have information as to who's won the toss the maximum number of times, and the clear answer to that is Mumbai Indians. They won the toss like 98 times, right? And when you say the toss decisions, right? So if I just go ahead and pick another set of information here, toss decision, and if I drop it here, there you go, batter ball. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this here, or I'm gonna just make it to a pie visualization, right? So it would give us an idea as in what have the teams who won the toss decided to do. You see, the teams that have won the toss have decided to field first. That's surprising, but that's pretty understandable because we host IPL in the Indian subcontinent where we have the due factor coming in, and that is why many captains in T20s go conservative, thinking that okay, we should go ahead and just win the toss and ball first because there would be dew coming in and there are more chances winning the matches by chasing, right? So this is what we get to know, right? And let's just go ahead and pick something else. I'll tell you why we are doing that. So let me just pick this part up, drag and drop it here. This part is something I want to have a different set of color for so that it creates lesser ambiguity. So not this way. Let's just go ahead and what is this? This is count of toss winner, right? So who's won the maximum number of tosses? So toss winners, I'm gonna pick this up again. I'm gonna skip this for now. This is something that you can ignore and delete. This part I'm gonna just go ahead and say toss, and I'm gonna add it to the legend part. So there you go, guys. Just like that, all different colors have been added here. Now what I'm gonna do is we have the toss winners, right? We have the team that has won the maximum tosses, and I'm gonna just go ahead and say look for a winner now. Let me put it here, and in this case again I'm gonna go ahead and use certain type of visualization. Let's see what kind of visuals do we get. So this is again not very good, so I'm gonna go ahead and select this chart. So this is something that gives me information about the teams that have won the most number of matches. Mumbai Indians is the team that has won the most matches in IPL, followed by Chennai Super Kings, right? So these are the teams that this is something that gives you data. Now we know that these are the wins they have, right? 109. So those 109 wins, right? Each time they won a toss, out of those, after having won the toss for like 98 times, Mumbai Indians has won 56 matches by winning the toss. The case with Mumbai's or Kolkata Knight Riders is fairly different. They won the toss like 92 times, but they've lost or they won the match only 7 times by doing that. I'm not sure how accurate this data is, but this is what the data tells you here in this case.
Here we are at the final section of this video, summary. Let's quickly recap what all did we study in this session. First, we learned Power BI's capabilities, what is Power BI, the role of Power BI in order to transform data, actionable insights, and it helps us to make a better decision. So this was our first introduction. Then we also learned how do we set up and install Power BI, which is generally used in order to clean the data and make a good data analysis. Later, we had a brief introduction towards ecosystem and licensing. What are the different products it is available in Power BI? What is it all about? What is the subscription? What is the cost? And how do we use that? Who are the key role players for this particular applications? Security level. Across many other features, we learnt about the ecosystem and licensing. Then we had a comprehensive walkthrough on Power BI desktop interface, which is covering all the tools and data analysis. How do we load the data, etc. We also saw data modeling, where how to create and structure relationship between data in order to enable the analysis very effectively. Later, we used DAX, data analysis expressions, and explained demonstrating how it will perform the advanced calculations. Later, we created visualizations with the guidance and designing, also utilizing various tools to present data. Then, we introduced Power Query. Why do we use Power Query? How do we clean the data? How do we transform the data? How do we prepare the data for analysis for Power BI? Power Query plays a key important role in this aspect. We learned how it is done with a simple demos. Then we had a hands-on project where we visualized how we apply Power BI skills which we learnt across and in order to understand with the help of real-world scenario. Hope you learnt basic knowledge regarding Microsoft Power BI. Thank you. Happy learning.